Good morning, Salam Alaikum. Welcome to the weekend version of Baina News Store right here on Baina News. Our headlines. We are committed to renewable energy generation, says President Akufo-Addo. Ghana, Switzerland signs two agreements to foster economic prosperity. Counter-terrorism project for 5 West African countries has been launched. We fire to maim. Loss unfortunate, says the military, into inquiries into the Ejura incidents. These and many other interesting stories will be coming your way. All right, let's start with our first headlines. We are committed to renewable energy generation. President Nana Akufo-Addo has said the government is committed to ensuring that about 10% of Ghana's energy mix comes from renewable sources by the end of the decade. He has therefore welcomed collaboration between the country and the Swiss government to attain the target. He said this when he hosted the Swiss Minister of Environment, Traffic, Energy and Communications, Ms. Simonetta Sumaruga, to a working lunch at the Jubilee House recently. On her part, Ms. Sumaruga, who is also former president of the Swiss Confederation, is on a 3-day visit to Ghana. The two countries set out a roadmap for the swift implementation of a climate partnership agreement they signed in November 2020. Okay, Parliament is expected to ratify the agreement to pave the way for its full implementation. While Switzerland is a global pioneer in climate protection, setting a standard for international climate projects that respect both human rights and nature, I am sure this will be a great partnership between Ghana and Switzerland. We will have a lot to learn from Switzerland, particularly when it comes to climate issues. We are told that they signed the landmark agreements yesterday to boost the bilateral and economic development cooperation between the two countries in the fight against climate change for the years from 2021 to 2024. The first agreement was the allocation of the CHF 65 million by the Swiss government to Ghana for economic development in Ghana, whilst the second was to pilot the operationalism of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement and to mobilize funds internationally to implement the Ghana NDCs. Okay, so we're told that the Paris Agreement set out a global framework to avoid dangerous climate change by limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius and pursuing efforts to limit it to 1.5 degrees Celsius. As it also aimed to strengthen countries' ability to deal with the impact of climate change and support them in their efforts. So that's an agreement that has been signed between Switzerland and Ghana, which will run from the year 2021 to 2024. It is to help Ghana combat the issues relating to climate change. And Switzerland has proven itself on the international front to have been able to successfully implement good strategies to help minimize the effects of climate change. So I'm sure that Ghana will also be following similar calls during the years. Okay. Counter-terrorism project for 5 West African countries has also been launched. A project on counter-terrorism in 5 West African countries, including Ghana, which is dubbed Strengthening Response Capacities of State and Civil Society Actors in Preventing and Countering Terrorism and Violent Extremism in Coastal States in West Africa, has been launched in Accra. The project, which is being supported by the Japanese government, will be implemented by the UNDP and the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Centers in Accra. We are told that the other beneficiary countries are Benin, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, and Burkina Faso. To kickstart the project, the Japanese ambassador to Ghana, Mr. Tsumun Himeno, and the UNDP resident representative, Dr. Angela Lusingi, appended their signatures to the agreement in Accra yesterday. Adding the activities under the project will include building the capacity of border agency personnel and civil society actors on counter-terrorism and violent extremism in coastal states in the sub-region and improving evidence-based community engagement and cross-country cooperation on countering terrorism and violent extremism. Okay, so recently we have seen a lot of violence happening within the borders of Ghana, places like Burkina Faso, Mali, etc. So I'm sure that with this sort of agreement, which the Japanese, which Japan is helping Ghana to do, it will further help us to strengthen what it's like to reduce any form of extremism and violence against human rights. It's not yet clear when this will roll out, but we are told that the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center will have this implemented. All right, let's move on to the Ejura issue. The military has also come out on its side to state that it intended to simply fire, not to cause the loss of lives, but to rather scare individuals. But it's unfortunate that lives were lost. Let's see what they said in more details. We're told that the commanding officer of the 4th Infantry Battalion, responsible for military operations in the Ashanti region, Lieutenant Colonel Kwesi Ware Prempeh, has stated that his men fired to only maim, but not to kill protesters during the disturbances on June 29 in Ejura at the Ashanti region. According to Lieutenant Colonel Kwesi Ware Prempeh, who was given evidence before the Committee of Inquiry into the Ejura shooting incidents, the commander on the ground informed him that after firing warning shots to disperse the protesters, they were fired at and had to return fire. I'm sure a lot of people are asking, if you fire shots to simply disperse a group of people coming towards you, maybe it should be bullets that are not really meant to kill, but just rather meant to just hit and then drop, because there are bullets like that. Those are some of the ones that are used for birds. So why would it cause the loss of lives? This is what we are all asking, but let's see. Lieutenant Colonel Kwesi Ware Prempeh appeared before the 3-member Committee of Inquiry on Wednesday, just this week, Wednesday. He said the Ashanti Regional Police Commander and Deputy Regional Police Commander asked him for military assistance to restore order in the town because the youth had driven the police out of the Ejura town. In a quote, "Then again," he said, "I called the patrol responsible for Mampoteng to go and assist. When they got to the police station, they were briefed by the Ejura police commander, and then they decided to move to where the protesters were approaching from. According to the commander on the ground, they fired a couple of warning shots, and in the process, they were fired at from weapons suspected to be pump action and locally manufactured weapons, and therefore they had to return fire to maim. Unfortunately, we lost 2 of the protesters to the process." So this is what the military had to say on their part. They said the firing that killed 2 protesters was not intended to be so. They rather fired to maim, which meant to scare the group of people that were approaching them, but it wasn't meant to shoot them. But it was unfortunate that 2 people were killed, unfortunately. I think this still leaves us all wondering why these incidents occurred the way it did. And then you want to ask yourself, how did the protesters fire back at the police, and what sort of weapons did they use? But the police are suspecting that the protesters on their side from unknown places obviously used locally manufactured weapons that they haven't yet disclosed. So I'm sure that more investigation is still ongoing with that. All right, still on the Ejura incident. The committee that has been set up to follow up with investigation has said to give them 1 more week to complete their work. They said the ministerial committee investigating the circumstances that led to last week's death in Ejura in the Ashanti region has requested for an extension of the deadline to complete its work. According to the committee, considering the testimonies yet to be taken, it is requesting for an extension of the deadline to complete its work to Friday, the 16th day of July 2021. So it's asking for 1 more week to inquire more in order to give a reasonable resolution to these unfortunate incidents in the country. And the family of the deceased also has their say. In a quote, they said, "You don't have powers to give us justice." This is Macho Kaka's family as they bounce back to the Ejura committee. The family of Kanka says it has no confidence in the 3-member committee established to probe the Ejura incidents. The family also accused the committee of making prejudicial comments. It would therefore not make an appearance at the committee's hearing. The family of the late social activist Ibrahim Mohammed, popularly known as Macho Kanka, has notified the Interior Minister of its decision not to honor an invitation to appear before the 3-member committee of inquiry set up to probe the melee at Ejura on June 29th. The family, in a statement issued on Thursday, which just yesterday, said that after monitoring the sittings of the committee for the past 3 days, it doesn't have confidence in its ability to investigate to investigate and unravel the mystery behind the murder of their relative. The family also accused a member of the committee of making comments which are prejudicial and expose their bias on the issue. All right, in a quote, they said, "We, the family of Ibrahim Kaka Mohammed, regret to formally notify you of our decision to not participate in the ongoing public inquisition, which is purportedly concerned with the circumstances that led to the unfortunate occurrences of Tuesday, 29th day of June 2021. So there, the family of Kanka has said that they don't have confidence in the 3-member committee that has been set up to investigate what actually happened on that day, which caused the decease of Kanka. And this is rather unfortunate if the family members comes out to say this, because this committee is actually meant to give them justice. And how would they know if they are immediately dismissing the work of this committee? I think it's simply fair to say that for us to have a good resolution to these incidents, we should give the committee more time to do their work. And of course, it's unfortunate. People are angry. The youths are extremely disappointed. I'm sure that the public as well. Everybody is adding their voice to what happened, but it's simply fair to say that it's important for us to find out what actually happened. And the only way to do that is to allow the 3-member committee that has been set up to appropriately do their work so that we all bring this to a good close. We'll be following up more on that. Okay, moving on to the Ghana Bar Association. They said they damn assault violence against civilians by security personnel. It says it has noted with increasing concern so it has noted that it has noted with concerns that acts of violence carried out by some security agencies recently, and reiterated its condemnation of persons who attack people regardless of the cause. The bar, in a statement issued on Thursday and signed by its national president, Anthony Forson Jr., and national secretary Yao Echampong Boafo, listed a number of such incidences, some of which led to deaths, and expressed hope that ongoing investigation will be through swift and fair, and thus found culpable will be duly punished. This statement said in a quote, "Under no circumstances should operatives of the security agencies, under the pretext of maintaining peace, manhandle and assault people or use physical force, which sometimes results in the deaths of the victims. The rule of law must prevail at all times in our dear country." I think the Ghana Bar Association is making the right statement there to literally state that on its part it has acknowledged the fact that some security personnel under keeping security actually manhandle people, and sometimes that results to death. I mean, for instance, we can even point out to the Ejura issues. You could have said, why would the military fire into a mob that's simply protesting? At the end of the day, if people are protesting peacefully, they have their rights. It is within their right to vent out their grievances by a peaceful protest. But to the extent of shooting into the crowd and then 2 people dying is one of the examples the Ghana Bar Association is also saying. So when people are found guilty, they will be punished. All right, let's move on to other stories. Parliament approves $200 million additional finance for COVID-19 response interventions. Okay, so Parliament has approved the $200 million loan as an additional financing for the country's coronavirus emergency preparedness and response project. The amount will enable the government to fund the procurement of vaccines to inculcate about 7.6 million people. It will also help Ghana to scale up interventions towards accelerated socio-economic recovery and revitalization. The repayment period for the loan facility is 25 years with a grace period of 5 years. So that makes it literally 30 years. Okay. The interest charge is about 1.9% with a grant element of 21.3%. Okay, so the agreement, which is between the government of Ghana and the International Development Association of the World Bank, was presented to the House on June 30th and then referred to the Finance Committee for consideration and report. So we are told that a loan of $200 million has been approved by the World Bank to help Ghana finance the coronavirus vaccines and to help the emergency preparedness and response project. And this loan is going to be paid back within 25 years with a grace period of 5 years. Let's hope that all of these monies will actually go into what they are meant to do and that we're able to pay back. I mean, 25 years is a long time. With a 5 years grace period makes it 30 years. We're asking, will coronavirus still be around till then? Hopefully not. But more importantly, we want to see that businesses are benefiting from it. The whole country should have been fully vaccinated, but we are told that this is actually for 7.6 million people to be vaccinated. Let's see. And also, would Ghana have produced its own vaccine by then? We are looking at 25 years, 30 years from now. A lot could happen. Let's see. All right. Okay. MTTD records 1,450 deaths in the first half of 2021. So report from the Motor Traffic and Transport Department, which is also known as MTTD, of the Ghana Police Service says that 200 more people died in June. In the first 5 months of 2021, 1,250 people died through road accident alone. That is a lot. This means that a total of 1,450 people have died in the first half of 2021. Current statistics from the MTTD indicate that the figure represents a 27.19% rise in road deaths as compared to 1,140 people who died during the same time between January and June last year. So there's an increase of 27.19% rise in road accidents in which people lost their life, 27.19% increase compared to the same time last year. We also told that the Ashanti region recorded 297 deaths, which is the highest number of deaths over the past 6 months. Eastern region follows with a record of 243 deaths, and the Greater Accra region with 228 deaths. Some 622 people have been killed in motorcycle accidents since the beginning of the year. According to MTTD, 2,481 people have been injured in motorcycle-related accidents, and 1,407 knockdowns have been recorded from January to June of this year alone, whilst 423 of them perished, hence a 25.11% rise compared to last year. So I think the question we should all be asking is, how can we reduce all of these deaths and the causes of death? From what I just stated, we see that 2,481 people have been injured in motorcycle-related accident, 2,481 injured from motorcycle alone. And we're told that 622 people are killed in motorcycle accidents since the beginning of the year. So that clearly tells you that the use of motorcycle is not safe. It might be easier to navigate traffic. It might make more economic sense in terms of fuel consumption, and also perhaps in terms of care, because maintaining a car and if you want to say maintain a car compared to maintaining a motorcycle is definitely a lot cheaper. But the number of lives that are lost through motorcycles is doubled, in fact, tripled. So what we need to be doing is looking for alternative sources of transportation that will be more effective in terms of navigating traffic without causing so much loss of lives. That's what we need to be looking at. I think this report by the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service is very crucial for all of us to be very, very mindful of how we go about our daily duties, because cars do knock people off, and the result is people do lose their lives untimely, and it's not right. Let's do well to make sure that we ensure that we don't overspeed, we don't overtake unnecessarily, and motorcycles as well. They just move in and out of traffic, and sometimes they get knocked over, and it's very, very sad to know that so many people lose their lives through motorcycle-related accidents. So let's be very, very mindful of this. If possible, I remember there was a time we even had a campaign whereby motorcyclists were being asked to not ride, without licenses, and they were actually being banned in Ghana. But some way, somehow, it seemed to have crept into the system more. So maybe the transport authorities need to look more into it, because the number of lives that have been lost just within the first 6 months of this year is alarming. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at all the news. Approval of presidential spouses' salaries. NDC to challenge Parliament in court. Now, the youth wing of the opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, has hinted at challenging Parliament's approval of salaries for the first and second ladies in the Supreme Court. In a quote, the youth wing will in the coming days invoke the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to declare this cancerous and insensitive act unconstitutional, the party stated in a press statement signed by the national youth organizer of the party, George Opare Ado, on Wednesday this week. According to the group, In a quote, they said, the Constitution never clothed the Emolument Committee any power to introduce any category of persons to benefit from the Consolidated Fund without due regard to Article 108. The party was of the view that the committee erred in making such a recommendation. In a quote, they said, the bully approval process by the NPP majority in the last parliament and subsequent okay, all right, let's hold it there. So they're saying that they're going to challenge, Parliament's approval of salaries for the first and second ladies in the Supreme Court. One might be asking themselves, what is going on? But apparently, if we actually look at the roles of a first lady or a second lady, which I'll be telling you in a minute, hang on to that. In other news, we are told that the first ladies contribute to development and must be compensated. Patrick Baina has stated. Now, he's the vice chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee. And he has defended the decision of the 7th Parliament to approve an increment in allowances for the spouses of the President and the Vice President. According to him, the First Lady and Second Lady make significant contributions to national development and must be compensated for it. In a quote, he said, they all contribute their quota to the development of this country, Mr. Baina said in an interview. All right, so he is actually supporting the fact that the 7th Parliament approval to increase the allowances of the spouses of the President and the Vice President is correct. And according to him, they support national development. So why shouldn't they get an increment to their allowances? And somebody, like I said before, would be asking, why would, why should this be so? Because the opposition is also saying that it's unconstitutional. Why should the first and the second lady spouses be getting an increment in their allowances? They are saying that it's unconstitutional. And for them, if this is the case, they are challenging it in court. Okay, let's look at other news. Social media users campaign against 28 million loan to purchase cars for members of parliament. Okay, scores on social media are calling on parliament to throw out a request by the finance ministry for a $28 million loan from the National Investment Bank, NIB, to purchase 275 vehicles for legislators in the 8th Parliament. Deputy Finance Minister Baina Asare on Tuesday laid the request before the floor of the House. So $28 million loan to purchase cars for legislators. All right. The minister also presented a similar request for a 3.5 million the minister also presented a similar request for a $3.5 million loan for members of the 8th Council State for them to purchase vehicles. But my beef on this is, why so much money just to purchase cars? I mean, we are told that the total numbers of cars is 275 vehicles. And will 275 vehicles cost $28 million? It is questionable. I mean, seriously, this is questionable. I mean, on the average, obviously people will be asking, why should it cost so much? And who is paying? Who is paying for all these car loans? Why should it be a loan? You know, I mean, this is some of the things we really have to be thinking about. So what priorities do we have as a nation? Should we be putting all these monies into buying cars? Meanwhile, we've not even finished vaccinating the general population. Yet we are getting approval for a $200 million loan from World Bank just to secure vaccines. And back home, we're taking $28 million for 275 vehicles. Really? I'm sure that people are just wondering in their minds. We have to really, really prioritize where our monies are going, how we're going to pay back. That's the bigger question. You know, you're taking all this loan, how will you pay it back? Okay, all right. Let's look at international news. Haitian president has been killed in an attack at home. Now, Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse has been killed in an attack on his home in the nation's capital, according to the country's interim prime minister. Claude Joseph said the president's residence in Port-au-Prince was stormed by unidentified armed men. Recently, the First Lady was reportedly also injured in the attack. Unfortunate news there. We're told that Jovenel Moïse was 53 years old and had been in power since February 2017 after his predecessor Michael Matley stepped down. Okay, let's look at other international news. Just coming up. Okay, so let's look at news across Africa. Women bear the brunt of the war in Tigray in Ethiopia. Now, the Ethiopian government has acknowledged rapes allegedly perpetrated by its troops and allied fighters. 3 soldiers were convicted in May and dozens of others have been indicted. But these few cases do not come close to providing justice for what appears to be mass systematic rape, according to sources. Okay, so we're being told that women are in danger of disease, injuries, and unwanted pregnancies, along with widespread sexual crimes by these soldiers. That is coming from Ethiopia there. In addition, we're told the world leaders join calls for amicable solution in dam dispute. Now, Saudi Arabia has thrown its weight behind Egypt and Sudan in their bitter dispute with Ethiopia over a massive hydropower dam, which was built by the latter on the Blue Nile, the Nile River's main tributary. The Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam is the source of an almost decade-long diplomatic standoff between Ethiopia and downstream nations Egypt and Sudan. Ethiopia says the project is essential to its development, but the governments in Cairo and Khartoum fear it could restrict their citizens' water access. It came as reports said Tunisia has submitted a draft resolution to the UN Security Council calling on Ethiopia to cease filing GERD's reservoir. Okay, so Saudi Arabia is throwing its weight behind Egypt and Sudan in their bitter dispute with Ethiopia over a massive hydropower dam that was built on the Blue Nile. All right. In other news, the first cohort of African startups to go to Silicon Valley Accelerator program. We are told that 9 African tech startups are among the 117 so far revealed to be taking place in the Silicon Valley based in New York. Okay, so among these countries we have Nigeria, Egypt, and South Africa and Morocco. All right, so promoting African languages in all spaces. Now, the 6th edition of the Mambati Cornell Kiswahili Prize for African Literature, suspended last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, is back. This was funded in 2014, and the prize recognizes writing in African languages and encourages translations from between and into African languages. Swahili is widely spoken across the east coast of Africa. This year's prize also offers a special award designed to promote and popularize Swahili vocabulary for technology and digital rights. The conversations spoke to the prize founders, literally academic Lizzie Atri. All right, so we are being told that there is something beautiful about African languages carrying science, fictionalized, of course, into imagined futures. So African languages are being translated across all spheres of literature. That should be exciting, meaning that English is not the only language that will be that we can find across literature and science, but other African languages are going to be translated, and I'm sure this would also include Arabic as well as Swahili. Okay, so this is all we have for you right here on Baina News Store. I hope you have enjoyed watching the weekend edition. Special thanks to my producer Ahmed Saeed and to all Baina News staff. Don't forget to subscribe to our social media handles on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram, and keep watching all Baina program. See you next time. Have a blessed weekend. Thank you.